Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. I would like to welcome you all to the PHIVOLCS Mindanao Cluster Monitoring Center for Earthquake and Tsunami Inauguration and Info Centro sa PHIVOLCS. I am Melissa May Tamayo, Science Research Specialist from DOST-PHIVOLCS. And with me today is a staff from Seismological Observation and Earthquake Prediction Division, live from our Davao Seismic Station, my partner, my partner, Miss Mary Ann Gatdula, will join us shortly today. Before we officially start, I would like to give some reminders to everyone. Upon joining po, please state your affiliation and name through the chat box so that we can acknowledge you properly and ma-acknowledge po namin kayo and matawag po natin during po the Q&A. We would like to remind everyone to turn off your microphone and cameras para po ma-avoid natin ang mga distractions at maayos po ang takbo ng ating programa. You may also ask us any questions regarding the topic. Just type your name, affiliation, and questions dun po sa ating chat box. I would also like to remind everyone that this meeting is recorded for documentation and other purposes. Please kindly fill out our attendance form. Yung link po ay provided na ating secretariat sa ating chat box. Kung nakapag-attendance na po kayo while in the waiting room, no need to answer the form once again. And then later on, we will also provide a link for the evaluation para po tayo po ay makapagkuha ng ating mga information materials. And now, here is my partner, Miss Mary Ann.
Okay, so good afternoon, Missy. And maayong hapon ka natong tanan sa atin pong mga participants and to all who registered to our Zoom meeting this afternoon. So I am Mary Ann Gatdula from Seismic and Tsunami Network Operation of Seismological Observation and Earthquake Prediction Division and will be your virtual host for this afternoon with Missy, all the way live here at the Data Receiving Center of our new established PMCMCET here at Davao City. It's my second time here at Davao City, and it feels so great every time I come back here, Missy.
That's good to hear, May Ann. Kasi ako hindi pa ako nakakarating dyan sa ating station. And sana after ng pandemic, I will be given a chance na makita naman personally yung ating station. And of course, yung ating bagong facility.
So, after the pandemic, siguro pwede na tayong bumisita dito sa ating bagong established na PMCMCET para naman makita natin yung ating bagong building dito sa Philippine Science High School. So, Missy, before we proceed, we would like to acknowledge the presence of the campus director of Philippine Science High School, Southern Mindanao Campus, Dr. Jonald P. Fenecios. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hapon sa tanan.
Good afternoon, sir. We also would like to acknowledge the presence of the Regional Director of OCD 11, Dr. Manolito P. Orense. Good afternoon, sir. We also like to acknowledge the presence of Chief Officer of City Disaster Risk Reduction Office of Davao City, Alfredo D. Baloran. Good afternoon, sir.
Present, ma'am. Good afternoon. Good afternoon
Sir,
to
good
everyone.
afternoon. Then we also like to acknowledge the presence of the Regional Standard and Testing Laboratory Head of DOST 11, Engineer Benjamin V.D. Estrelado Jr. Good afternoon, sir. Okay, so after all the reminders, we would like now to officially open our program. It is my pleasure to introduce one of the best scientists who knows more than enough about seismology and earthquake and tsunami science, and even monitoring. The officer in charge of the Seismological Observation and Earthquake Prediction Division of DOST PHIVOLCS, none other than Mr. Ismael C. Narag. Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you for the introduction, Nean. So magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Good morning to our distinguished guests, Secretary De La Peña, Undersecretary Solidum, Director Bacolcol, and Director Fenecios. Also with us is Director Rense and Davao City Dream O Chief, Superintendent Baloran, and of course DOST Engineer Estralada that was introduced a while ago. So welcome po sa lahat ng participants. You found your time to be here. Yung mga busy schedules, you were able to be with us during this very important activity. We welcome you to this virtual inauguration of the PHIVOLCS Mindanao Cluster Monitoring Center for Earthquake and Tsunami, or which we call PMCMCET. Well, today's activities will eventually introduce the center and its transformative role in earthquake and tsunami monitoring and warning in the region of Mindanao, where most of these events often occur. Let me say that performing scientific monitoring is a bit difficult and demanding. Well, for PHIVOLCS, usually in the early stages of earthquake location or a tsunami event, the analyst on duty needs to wear two hats, both as a scientist, crunching data as it trickles in the center, and as an emergency officer, evaluating its potential impacts to communities and crafting appropriate information products for release to the public. In essence, this demands to the analyst a near lightning speed evaluation of the results of data processing, and also identifying the target recipients of the information to be released. It is important that the analyst is surrounded by enough statistical tools and analytics to do this with confidence. But there will be moments that the data will be sparse, and this will require leaps of expert judgment on the part of the monitoring staff. But fortunately, this skill can be developed and achieved through years of hard work and training, exposure to scientific works of experts, and sustained guidance set by inspiring peers and colleagues, eventually honing the analyst's independent critical thinking and to be rigorously skeptical of his own work. Through the years, here at PHIVOLCS, we have set an environment that is both dynamic and electrical during emergencies, and yet nurtures interest in the sciences to further push the frontiers of knowledge forward. We firmly hope that this new center creates a similar nurturing environment in Mindanao, where our staff, partners, and the public will grow and appreciate science and its transformative value in achieving our goal of community resilience. Usually during emergencies, disaster information provided during events can become a critical game changer in the final outcome of an event to a community. Based on experience, there are drawbacks when information is not received in a timely manner. In such cases, the public's hunger for information will turn their heads to sources of inaccurate and unreliable information. And with the current communication technology and social media, this misleading information can spread like wildfire. During the initial stages of an event, there are unfortunately elements in society that will exploit these moments to spread false and inaccurate information. In fact, there are actually online armies, either scattered individuals or organized groups, that find malicious pleasure in deliberately deceiving people. So it is always important to ensure that within these early stages, information from a reliable and trusted source is flowing to our partners and the public at a prescribed time. We at PHIVOLCS, together with our partners in disaster risk reduction and management, always continue to find and implement innovative ways to provide the information that the public need on time through the use of new and cost-effective technology. With a dedicated and competent technical staff, there are no limits in what we can achieve in the future. Lastly, I would like to take this opportunity to salute our colleague from our Bislig Seismic Station, Magdaleno Abrahan, who in the early stages of the pandemic last year had to spend his tour of duty longer in Davao City, augmenting the monitoring staff in this station. At that time, we were nearing the completion of the rehabilitation work for the building in Davao, doing the necessary finishing touches, adding bells and whistles for it to become the center that we know now. When Lino had the opportunity to go back to his family in Bislig City, he unfortunately succumbed to a protracted illness, which eventually brought him to a hospital back in Davao City. Sadly, he surrendered his spirit on April this year and cannot be with us during this inauguration. Lino once told me when I was new to PHIVOLCS that this kind of public service that we do, the line of work that all disaster agencies do, is actually a unique privilege. That his work is very endearing to him because every day for him is always an opportunity to make this community where we all belong a better and safe place. With these words, I will always remember Lino and all similar public servants for as long as this center is standing and operating here in Davao City. Again, maraming salamat po for attending and hope you enjoy this day's activities with us.
Thank you very much, Sir Ishma, for that heartwarming message. Of course, I would also like to acknowledge the presence of our dear DOST Secretary, Secretary de la Peña, our USEC Solidum is joining us today, and of course, PHIVOLCS Deputy Director Teresito Bacolcol. To explain more and give us a background about the PHIVOLCS Mindanao Cluster Monitoring Center for Earthquake and Tsunami, or what we call PMCMCET, here is the Undersecretary for DOST and PHIVOLCS Officer in Charge, Dr. Renato Solidum Jr., USEC.
Thank you very much, Missy. Let me just share my screen first. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Thank you for attending this inauguration of the PHIVOLCS Mindanao Cluster Center for Earthquake and Tsunami. As you all know, the Philippines is such an earthquake-prone country, and we need to know in a fast manner and accurate manner where the earthquakes are happening so that we are able to respond to these events, if quite large, appropriately. Kailangan po nating malaman ito kaagad. And currently, we are operating 111 seismic network. No? Ito po yung pinaka-latest. And 75 of these stations are what we consider satellite-telemetered seismic station, where no one is present, but essentially the instruments information are sent via satellite to the data receiving center. Initially at the main office of PHIVOLCS, and of course, at another mirror station in Tagaytay, and now at Davao Station. We also have 29 staff-controlled or manned seismic station and 7 volcano observatory stations that would contribute to the whole Philippine seismic network. We want to increase our number of stations constantly because we need to cover as wide area as possible across the country so that we can detect smaller and smaller earthquake events. Bakit po kailangan ito? It is possible that smaller earthquake events can give us an idea of the occurrence of a larger earthquake event. So far, based on our analysis, events with magnitude 4, like shown on the right side, magnitude 3 shown in the middle graph, and magnitude 2 can be detected in almost the whole parts of the Philippines except possibly on the southwestern side and northwestern side where our boundaries are limited. Dagat na po ang ating boundary. These maps will show you different colors covering different areas. The darker the color, the more stations would cover and record and determine much better the earthquake parameters that we need to know: location, magnitude, depth, no? And in here, you would see that we are okay with very large earthquake events and even up to magnitude 4, but we want to make sure that even smaller events which can be felt locally by some other localities, can also be detected. So ang pinaka nasa leftmost na graph would be the detection capability of magnitude 2, where the yellow areas would only have 1 to 2 stations detecting it. Now, we also resort to determining and getting the raw earthquake waveform data from seismic stations in other countries. We have also a network looking at that so that we can better constrain ano yung mga location, magnitude ng mga earthquakes na nasa dagat na ng Pilipinas. So our goal is to further increase the detection capability of our network by increasing it further. So by next year, we hope to have 115 earthquake monitoring stations, but as the years go on, we want to increase this to 300. Palagay ko po sa susunod na set na mga PHIVOLCS employees mangyayari yon. Now, if you look at our network and comparing this with other possible sources of information, obviously, the more stations one organization would have, the better the location, the more earthquake events that can be detected. So just for comparison, this is a 7-day seismicity or 1 week seismicity last February. And this would show you the events located by the United States Geological Survey. So obviously, they would only be recording significant earthquake events. Comparing this to the 7-day seismicity during the same period as recorded and detected by the Philippine Seismic Network, obviously you would see the big difference. Significant number of earthquakes are detected across the country. Such as that is the importance of having denser earthquake network. The better accuracy with the number of seismic stations that we have. Now, way back in the 1980s, when the seismology function of PHIVOLCS was transferred to Pag-asa, we only started with around 12 seismic stations. But in the 90s, after the 2 world-class geologic events that happened here in Luzon, the first was the magnitude 7.8, 1990 Luzon earthquake. And the following year, the very explosive eruption of Pinatubo in 1991 made everyone, especially in government, realize the importance of really focusing our attention not only to typhoons, but also to events that can bring havoc to a significant area. People can die instantly if we are not able to prepare for this, for volcanoes and for earthquake events. So in the 1990s, we began to develop and increase the number of stations of the Philippine Seismic Network. And one of the challenges that we encountered would be the availability of land. But the Philippine Science High School in Davao offered us a lot where we can set up a seismic station in Davao City, which is not only good for monitoring, but also enhancing the science education of students in the area. The Memorandum of Agreement signed in 1992 was renewed in 2010, and that is why we have this revitalized seismic station inside the Philippine Science High School in Southern Mindanao. Okay, and this is roughly 604 kilometers away from PHIVOLCS. Why did we develop Davao Seismic Station into a Mindanao cluster center for earthquake and tsunami monitoring? Why not focus our attention only in the PHIVOLCS Main Office? As you all know, different areas in the Philippines are prone to various hazards. Just like in Metro Manila and other places, every place in the Philippines minus mainland Palawan is prone to large earthquake events. So in the event of the operation in Metro Manila will be affected by large earthquake event, we need to ensure that our office would still continue operating and providing information to the public for appropriate response. So as an initial step to ensure our business continuity and provide continuity of our public service, we set up a mirror station in Davao City, where we hope to have our staff go to Tagaytay and operate a similar set of monitoring instruments. But it is also possible that there can be simultaneous large earthquake events happening in Luzon or Visayas in Mindanao. Maybe not exactly the same time, but in a span of hours or even days. So it is important that we establish different cluster centers in different parts of the country. So the Davao Seismic Station is the first such center. So that if in the event the operation in the main office is discontinued, they can still provide the necessary information for the whole Philippines. Okay, this is the view of our Davao Seismic Station in one portion of the Philippine Science High School campus, the building, and the monitoring center. The instrumentation and data communication that is available in the actual station would consist of the seismic sensor, broadband seismic sensor, one, within the vault that is in the middle, a lower middle part of the slide, and an intensity meter, so that we are able to know the intensity being felt at the station immediately after a strong earthquake without anyone's intervention. The power supply is charged with a solar panel so that we ensure continuous operation of the sensor. In the data processing center, we have computers that can help the duty personnel to evaluate the seismic signal, the wiggly lines are shown there, and be able to locate earthquake events and also make sure that these information are provided rapidly. There are various decision support tools available. One would be involving the automated Hydra system, where we actually monitor earthquake events in the Philippines and all over the world. In reality, we can monitor earthquake events happening in other parts of the world, but we don't publish it. But we focus on earthquakes that occur only within the Philippines. But if in case there are earthquake events in the Pacific Ocean that can trigger a tsunami, then we also monitor these tsunami events across the Pacific Ocean using the tide tool, where we can see the different sea level gauges in different countries and open it and find out the possible detection of a tsunami as they move across towards the western side of the Pacific. We also have a tsunami scenario database such that when there is a large earthquake event offshore, we can process it and be able to determine whether it can cause a tsunami or, if it will, determine the possible height of the tsunami that will arrive in different coastlines of the country. The Mindanao Cluster Center for Earthquake and Tsunami would involve different stations. In Mindanao, we have 9 staff-controlled or manned monitoring stations, meaning they have dedicated staff operating a suite of earthquake monitoring and communication equipment. However, we also have more satellite-telemetered stations. We have 18 all over Mindanao. And these stations are standalone monitoring points that are capable to record and transmit ground motion data or shaking to the data receiving centers, both in Manila and also in Davao. The latest satellite-telemetered station in Mindanao would be the Shokan Zamboanga del Norte seismic station. We also maintain another kind of monitoring network. This is called the Philippine Tsunami Monitoring Network. This consists of sea level gauges, one of which would be the very modern type of tsunami tide gauge that is used in Japan, and is originated by JICA. And the sea level observation points will confirm if an actual tsunami wave was generated immediately after the earthquake, providing the earliest arrival times and wave heights. If indeed there was no tsunami, this is also very important, so that we can announce that the earthquake did not generate a tsunami and advise people about the earthquake event. We also operate tsunami alerting stations. So we operate 19 tide gauges, which have sensors like in Japan, and 10 sites where the sites are actually matched with tsunami alerting stations. We place this in areas with bays where there will be a significant lead time. When the tsunami would arrive in the mouth of bays, those further inside can be warned using the tsunami alerting stations. We also get data from 5 other sea level stations operated by other organizations. So in total, we have around 34 near real-time tsunami monitoring stations all over the Philippines, aside from the more than 40 tide gauges operated by NAMRIA. So the tsunami alerting stations, or sirens, would be sounded once a destructive tsunami is confirmed to impact a community, and this would prompt coastal communities to evacuate. The sirens are activated and developed and continuously improved in collaboration with the Advanced Science and Technology Institute, or ASTI, of DOST, and this can now be locally purchased if there are LGUs interested. We also operate the Philippine Intensity Meter Network. We have more than 100 of this, and this would provide us in near real-time instrumentally derived intensities to determine the extent of possible effects of an earthquake. What we do is to put up the sensor on the ground floor on a wall, and when there is a shaking, this will automatically be transmitted. The intensity will be transmitted by internet to the data receiving center. So we have around 16 of these intensity meters all over Mindanao, and we hope to add more as we are able to assemble these different instruments. We also have the Philippine Strong Motion Network. Strong motion sensors are important. They also record earthquake events, but this time they are dedicated to recording strong earthquake shaking. And these are important so that we are able to really detect very large earthquake events, because some of the sensors that we have can easily get saturated. And these kind of sensors will faithfully record data which are useful for engineers for the design of structures. To operate a monitoring center, we need to make sure that the intended stakeholders are aware of such a center and are able to understand the products and services and the information that will come out of the center. So I've been collaborating with the stakeholders in Mindanao, the Philippine Science High School, of course, and the Office of Civil Defense regional offices all over Mindanao. We are also ensuring within the DOST-PHIVOLCS to make sure that our staff and our different monitoring stations are closely coordinated, where the handshake between monitoring centers are clear and tested to ensure continuity of operations in case the main office is significantly affected. So we practice handing over the operation from the main office to this cluster center. Now, earthquake events are regularly evaluated to see the trends of earthquake activity and provide our technical staff some basis for further evaluation, and also to guide disaster managers in the potentially affected areas of what is happening, and to be alert of what can happen in areas where seismic swarms or earthquakes are being detected. We have been doing this for the past many years because in Mindanao and other parts of the Philippines, we see smaller earthquake activities occurring, and fortunately, many of these do not end with very large earthquake events, but we always need to anticipate. What are the information products that we provide? Aside from the location of earthquakes that just recently happened, we provide seismicity maps and reviewed earthquake catalog and event certifications. And these are usually requested from PHIVOLCS, especially those that are asking for insurance when there are earthquake effects. The LGUs can also be provided, and we have been doing this with the quarterly and annual maps of reviewed earthquake events. We also provide education and outreach by delivering lectures, by providing the information materials, and resource persons of organizations that are also organizing disaster preparedness seminars. So the presence of this cluster center would actually help our operation in Mindanao be more efficient, and we hope to reach a wider audience and stakeholder. Come November 5, we will also participate in the World Tsunami Awareness Day as designated by the United Nations, and we hope that many of the local governments can be with us to practice and ensure that local governments, coastal communities are able to react properly in case there are tsunami events. During this quarantine period, we also have provided guidance on what to do when there's an earthquake event and the correct procedure to evacuate and to assemble after an earthquake event. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are the brief information about the Mindanao Cluster Center for Earthquake and Tsunami. The website of PHIVOLCS are there, but the specific number of the center is shown, 822-930008, and their email for now is pmcset.docs@gmail.com. Maraming pong salamat sa inyong lahat sa inyong pakikinig.
Okay, so thank you, Yusek Salidum, for giving us a brief background on how PMCET, as the first cluster center, was established here in Davao City. So as Yusek Salidum said, we are prone of earthquake and tsunami, so we are hoping we can establish other cluster center, not only here in Mindanao, but also in other parts of the Philippines. So now, to give us more emphasis on the PMCMCET in Davao City, let us listen to the leader and the father of the Department of Science and Technology, SecBoy, as what we fondly call him in DOST, is very supportive in disaster risk reduction and mitigation programs, a public servant that has been committed to the development of science and technology, research, innovation, and education in the Philippines, an exemplary government leader to the Department of Science and Technology and its attached agencies and institutes, placing science and technology at the service of ordinary Filipinos. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce to you our dear DOST Secretary Fortunato Boy T. De La Peña. Good afternoon, Sec.
Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat at binabati ko ating mga distinguished na panauhin, ang ating Honorable Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio at ang kanyang mga kasama mga opisyal, ang ating mga katrabaho sa iba't ibang ahensya, ang ating mga kaibigan sa media, ladies and gentlemen, a very safe and pleasant afternoon to all. Ang maraming taon ng pagpaplano at pag-implement ng mga earthquake at tsunami programs ng ating DOST Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology or PHIVOLCS ay nagpo-culminate ngayon dito sa ating milestone activity na kung saan ay itinatayo natin officially ang PHIVOLCS Mindanao Cluster Center for Earthquake and Tsunami. Nabanggit na kanina ni Yusek Salidum na marami tayong mga seismic stations under PHIVOLCS na nag-ooperate sa iba't ibang bahagi ng Pilipinas at ang bilang ng nasa Mindanao ay umaabot sa 26 out of a total of 111 seismic stations. Ang iba nga niyan, sabi niya, ay ino-operate ng ating mga technical staff sa PHIVOLCS, samantalang iba naman ay remotely connected at yan ay namamanage via satellite. Ngayon, itong improvement na ito natin, ang pagkakatayo ng isang cluster center diyan, ang mga informasyon about earthquakes and tsunami events, okay, can now be easily conveyed, kasi yung mga information naman talaga nila ay regularly published sa PHIVOLCS website at posted din sa social media. Alam naman natin na ang lindol ay unpredictable or talagang hindi natin mapipredict. Kaya importante itong monitoring system na ito na maging reliable, 24/7, at yung mga tao natin nag-ooperate ay kailangang parating handa, no? At kami ni Yusek Solidum ay regular naman na nakakatanggap ng mga mensahe na namamonitor natin sa mga namamonitor nating mga pangyayari, at walang pinipiling oras yan, So yung mga weekends natin, kami ni Yusek Rene ay hindi complete na walang natatanggap ng mga balita sa ating mga stations. Now, sa loob ng almost approaching 6 years na po na ako ay nandito bilang kalihim ng Department of Science and Technology, ay napakahalaga na alam namin at ang ating mga programa, ang ating mga outputs, ang ating mga produkto at serbisyo ay nakakonekta sa tao at kanilang naiintindihan at na-appreciate. Alam naman natin na napakaraming opportunities na pwede magawa through science, and all we need to do is to really tap these opportunities and develop new knowledge, particularly through research. At alam naman natin na napakahalaga sa isang bansa ang nag-i-invest sa science and technology. So itong ating ginagawa ngayon natin dito ay isang paraan ng pag-i-invest, para sa ating bansa. Ang mga produkto, maraming produkto na nanggagaling sa ating PHIVOLCS bukod sa kanilang monitoring work. Nandiyan na nga yung mga mapa na malaki ang natutulong sa ating mga leaders para maplano na magkaroon ng safe future ang kanilang mga constituents. So with the inauguration of this cluster center, we hope to bring the products and services of our earth scientists in our department closer to the people whom we serve. And they will truly appreciate the meaning of earth sciences sa rehiyon at sa local level. I really hope that this will open doors for our people to appreciate scientific information better to transform people's lives. Ako ay natutuwa dahil na sa involvement ng Philippine Science High School, Southern Mindanao Campus in this undertaking, at sila ang nag-host ng facility sa kanilang campus. Habang nung narinig ko yun, ay nagkaroon ako ng idea na oo nga pala, ang mga campuses namin sa Philippine Science High School ay pwede mag-host ng iba't ibang klaseng facility para nang sa ganon ay nakikita at na-appreciate ng ating mga estudyante kung ano yung mga science and technology work na ating ginagawa at kakailanganin. So magandang halimbawa ito na ginawa ng PHIVOLCS na nakipag-collaborate sa ating Philippine Science High School. Of course, napakalaki rin ng ating pasasalamat sa City of Davao for their continuing support, hindi lamang sa PHIVOLCS pati sa iba naming ahensya. Wala pa siguro isang taon na Yusek Rene nung tayo ay nag-inaugurate diyan ng ating Pedro Center for receiving remotely sent information through our satellites, at yan ay nandiyan sa loob ng Davao City Airport Complex, At iba pang mga programa ng DOST na talagang napakalakas na collaboration ng aming mga ahensya at regional office, no, with the City of Davao. Muli ako ay nagpapasalamat sa buong pamilya ng DOST-PHIVOLCS for successfully establishing this facility. I know that this will mean more work for you, but I know that you will find pleasure in thinking about how our work as scientists continues to alleviate human suffering and how it continues to enrich the lives of the people, not only now but also the future generations to come. So ako'y talagang lubos na nasisiyahan dito sa development na ito. Congratulations, PHIVOLCS. Salamat, Philippine Science High School. Salamat, City of Davao. At muli, magandang hapon. Maraming salamat. At mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you very much, Secboy, for that message. And of course, thank you again for joining us. To give us her greetings, let's hear a video message from Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio.
Very good, very good.
Madayong ugmayong adlaw kaninyong tanan. On behalf of the City Government of Davao, I would like to extend my congratulations to the Department of Science and Technology, Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology on the inauguration of the PHIVOLCS Mindanao Cluster Monitoring Center for Earthquake and Tsunami. Natural disasters pose a great risk in any locality because of the unpredictability, considering that the Philippines belongs to the Pacific Ring of Fire, where volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and tsunamis are imminent. We commend PHIVOLCS for continuously fulfilling its mandate to mitigate these disasters by providing comprehensive and relevant information on disaster preparedness and risk reduction. By establishing the first Mindanao Cluster Monitoring Center here in Davao City, you have further widened the scope of your effective public service delivery, especially in terms of predicting volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and tsunamis, as well as formulating disaster preparedness action plans to mitigate the possibility of greater risks here in Mindanao. It is my hope that you may continue to fulfill your vision of becoming a leading global science and technology institution and share in our mission to create better and more developed communities in the years to come. Congratulations, ug daghang salamat, mabuhay po kayong lahat, and may God bless you all.
Thank you very much for your wonderful message, our dear Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio. Ang mga nasimulan po nating partnership simula po noon ay magpapatuloy para po sa kapakanan at kaligtasan po ng mga Davaoenos and Mindanaoans. Daghang salamat po, Mayor. And now, after hearing all the inspiring messages, let us go to the highlight of this afternoon's program. To give us a glimpse of the newly established PHIVOLCS Mindanao Cluster Monitoring Center for Earthquake and Tsunami right here at Barangay Santo Niño, Tugbok District, Davao City, let us all watch the video facility tour of the PMCMCET.
Attention. SREPG watch scanner. An earthquake has been detected.
So ayan po ang aming bagong PHIVOLCS Mindanao Cluster Monitoring Center for Earthquake and Tsunami Facility na matatagpuan po sa aming Davao Seismic Station. Unfortunately po, because of the pandemic, ay makikita lang po natin ito through a virtual tour na i-upload po namin later sa aming Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter accounts. For now po, gusto ko po kayong ayayahan na maaari po kayong magtanong sa aming pong mga panelists na inimbitahan para sa araw na ito. You may type your name, affiliation, and questions dun po sa ating chat box, and it will be read by our moderator, none other than the Chief Science Research Specialist of the Geologic Disaster Awareness and Preparedness Division, Dr. Maria Maylene Villegas. Ma'am May?
Good afternoon. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. I'm Maylene Martinez Villegas, Chief of the Geologic Disaster Awareness and Preparedness Division. You'll be the moderator for this afternoon. May we request our distinguished guests to please turn on your cameras. We would like to invite Director Jonald Venecias to be part of our guest panelists. And of course, Chief Officer for Disaster Risk Reduction Office ng Davao, si Sir Alfredo Baloran. And our Officer in charge of the Seismological Observation and Earthquake Prediction Division, Mr. Ishmael Narag. And Undersecretary DOST Yusalidum Jr. And of course, our beloved Secretary, DOST Secretary Fortunato T. De La Peña from DOST. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Before we begin, we would like to request lahat po ng questions as what Missy said, paki-type lang po sa ating chat box para po mabasa ko mamaya. But before that, may we request a few words from our guest panelists. Let me start by calling on our director. Siyempre, kasama po nating director from Philippine Science High School, Dr. Venecias.
Magandang hapon sa lahat. Magandang hapon po, Secretary De La Peña, Yusik Solidum, and PHIVOLCS Sir Narag, and the rest of the staff. I am very happy that the PHIVOLCS decided to put the facility in the Philippine Science High School. It is a good opportunity for the students to learn the scientific all about of the facility. In the future, we will visit the site so the students will be able to learn further. Maraming salamat.
Salamat din po, Director, for being here today. Now let me call on si Sir Alfredo Valoran po, DRR Officer po ng Davao City, for a few words.
Sir, yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to Secretary Solidum, sir, and other panels, Secretary De La Peña, and from PHIVOLCS, and also with the Philippine Science High School. Yes, in behalf of our mayor and the city government of Davao, taos puso nagpapasalamat ang city government of Davao, and most especially the people of Davao, for the successful establishment of this cluster monitoring on a seismic station of Davao City, because ito po this will not only a great help for the Davao City, but ito po makakatulong sa lahat ng provinces, especially in Mindanao and Davao City as well. And as far as we will know, na ito po ay this is an alternative stations, as mentioned kanina ni Sec Solidum, na ito po ay this would also be a part, could be a station just in case man na may mga incidents na mangyari sa Manila, and then this station can also be utilized as the satellite stations that can manage the incidents, no? Kung ano man ang mangyari, just in case man nga mayroong mga earthquake that resulted to tsunami. So maraming salamat po, no, for this very wonderful project ng PHIVOLCS na dito sa Davao na natayo. Maraming salamat po.
Malamat po, sir. Before we proceed, I would like to also acknowledge po, dumating na daw po pala si Director Manolito Orense po ng OCD Region 11. He's here, but medyo dalawa po yung kanyang Is he okay to
Yeah, okay. Pinasalo ko na lang yung isa doon sa aking assistant.
Sir.
So, sige.
Sir,
Ano bang?
Thank you. Thank you for coming. A few words from you, sir, before po si aming Ishma.
Okay. Actually, I would say that we are very thankful for the establishment of that monitoring center, no, for earthquake and tsunami dito sa island ng Mindanao. Actually, that would be very helpful sa ating monitoring sa ating effort against not against, on our effort on the disasters that actually susceptible to happen in the island of Mindanao. Kasi alam naman natin that Mindanao has a history of mga tsunami, no, and even big earthquakes, like say for example just like what happened in the Moro Gulf earthquake 1976, that the tsunami inundated part of Cotabato City and Sultan Kudarat, as well as the what do you call it, long ago occurrence of another tsunami somewhere in the Mate area. So we cannot just discount the possibility that these things would not happen. So with that, we know that it could happen, but mas maganda na yung may makaka-detect or makaka-address ng mga ganitong disaster na pwedeng mag-create ng distraction dito sa area, lalo na yung Davao region is nasa tabi ng dagat, no? From Davao de Oro down to Davao Oriental, Davao Sur, Davao del Norte, and Davao Occidental, also the Davao City. So magandang addition sa ating daan or sa ating effort against, not necessarily against, but our effort in detecting earlier itong mga natural disasters that particularly earthquake and tsunamis.
Thank you, sir. Maraming salamat po. So let's proceed. May we request Ishma Narag, OIC ng SOEPD, to say some words?
Yes, gusto ko lang sabihin na nagpapasalamat rin kami ng malaki sa City of Davao for also accommodating our staff na pumunta dyan at i-up yung lahat ng systems ng center during this inauguration. No? So, siguro malaking palaisipan sa atin kung bakit yung City of Davao ang napili. Kasi nga, as long as if we create safe spaces like what we have in Davao City, yung mga ganitong klaseng centers will be established. No? At kapag na-maintain po yung peace and order sa isang lugar, yung infrastructure to support the centers are being developed, yung telecoms, yung road systems, etc. At combined with a clear development strategy tulad ng strategy ni Secretary Boy that includes science and technology agenda dun sa ating sustained development ng ating country. Something like this, like centers, will be established in different parts of the country. So maraming salamat po sa inyo. You are the actual heroes kung bakit po na-establish yung center dito sa Davao City. Thank you po.
Yes, thank you very much sa parating pagsuporta sa science and technology. Thank you, Ishma. Now, we would like to call on Sir Yusek Solidum.
Well, let me just take this opportunity na magpasalamat sa lahat ng nandito for attending, si Secretary for really continuously providing support to the PHIVOLCS family, to our partners from the city government, si Colonel Baloran, parati ko nang kasama to pag may mga pa-seminar tayo, pati walk the fault, na malaman kung nasaan yung fault at maituro sa mga tao. And of course, Office of Civil Defense. Madalas ako dyan sa Region 11. Iba-ibang mga administrator. I go to different places and I value their continued collaboration with us. Kasi itong disasters ay partnership. Hindi naman tayo lang ang makakasolve sa DOST. We need the support of the disaster managers. And especially, pagdating naman sa mga kabataan, nandyan ang Philippine Science High School. Salamat po ako sa Philippine Science High School for really allowing PHIVOLCS to stay in their campus, because this is really important not only for disaster management but for improving science education and science culture in the areas in Mindanao. Maraming salamat po sa inyo lahat.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. And of course, our Secretary De La Peña.
Ano yun?
Sir, short message muna before I start asking questions from the ating pong mga...
Go ahead. I will be part of the panel, yes.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Okay, let's begin. We have questions here now, courtesy of mga kasama natin na nagmamonitor sa chat. First question is from Shokon, LDRM office. Ask ko lang po, ito ay para sa PHIVOLCS, I think. Ask ko lang po kung ang aming STSS dito sa Shokon, Zamboanga del Norte, operational na po ba? The final answer, and there is no one. Secondly, if you want to really try... sino sasagot?
Yeah, I can answer kasi nagpunta po kami dyan sa Shokon way back na nagkaroon na po kami ng surveys at ngayong taon pong ito ay na itayo na po yung housing ng ating instrumento at na ilagay na po yun, na deploy na at na test at na calibrate na ng maayos. So ngayon po ay umaandar na po yung earthquake monitoring system dyan sa Shokon and nagbabato na po ng data dito sa aming center sa Quezon City at pati na rin dyan sa Davao City.
Ayan. So nakaset up na po pero hindi pa siya commissioned to really like fully functional?
Ngayon po commissioned na po. So pag sinabi po nating commission ay nakatala na po to doon sa international na Federation of Digital Seismographs all over the world. Kung pupuntahan niyo po yung website ng FDSN, makikita niyo po doon na nakatala na po yung pangalan ng Shokon na station.
Yan. Thank you. At least malinaw na po na Operational na po, sir. Tanong po yan ni Sir Marlo. Now, let's proceed. Ito naman po, tips daw kailangan nila. Good afternoon. We're from the Office of Civil Defense. Government agencies and LGU should also establish alternate or backup mirror offices to ensure continuity of operations despite disruptions. PSCP to. What are the significant points that government agencies and LGUs must consider when establishing their own alternate or backup mirror offices similar to what PHIVOLCS have established?
Okay. Can I answer that?
Sige po.
Okay, so unang-una, mahalaga talaga itong mga mirror sites natin, okay, dahil hindi mo maiaalis na pwedeng yung ating lugar na kung saan nandyan yung ating information gathering and monitoring ay tamaan din ng ng disaster, and we have to be ready with a backup, para bagang contingency plan na kung may mangyari dun sa isa, meron kang naka-ready, and we can respond at a minimum of time loss. Ngayon, yung mga items na dapat i-consider dyan, unang-una, dapat ay yung site mo na original at saka yung mirror site, dapat maliit yung probability na sabay na tamaan ng hazardous event, Kasi kung meron kang mirror at kasabay naman siyang tatamaan din, nawawala rin yung kanyang silbi bilang contingency. Pangalawa, dapat ay napaka-importante ng communication, high-speed communication para masuportahan yung data exchange na kailangan. And of course, yung presence of critical lifelines dun sa ating mirror site. So yun ang mga importanteng considerations. Talaga namang napakainam na merong mga mirror sites. Thank you.
Thank you po, Secretary. Really, yung siting for mirror stations for continuity of service is very important. And I have to say, I've worked with PHIVOLCS for quite a while. And yung Tagaytay yung first namin as backup, And I think Yusek, Solidum, and Ishma can actually add to that. Kasi for us to have yung maaga natin na pagplanuhan yung pagkakaroon ng mga mirror stations, I think we should highlight that, sir.
Yes, nabanggit na ni Secretary yung mga critical lifeline. Communication is one. Tapos yung access to transport systems ay importante kasi kunyari national backup station yan, yung binanggit na Secretary critical lifeline, nabanggit na niya yung una, yung communication, pero yung madaling puntahan, accessibility. Pagdating sa mga national mirror sites, dapat may airport ka na mapupuntahan, may kalsadang maayos. And of course, yung supply ng electricity ay maayos din. And yung mga tao ay kailangan mabuhay din, May pagkain na available and tubig, most especially. So napaka-importante yan. Ang issue dito, syempre, pagdating sa Pilipinas, ay napakaraming mga areas na pwedeng lindulin. Kaya, syempre, hindi lang naman po nagtatapos sa Davao City ang ating planong paglagyan ng iba pang mirror cluster center. Syempre, magtatayo din tayo ng isa pa sa Visayas naman para sa Visayas cluster. Ongoing po ang construction ng center na yon.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ishma, may dadagdag ka?
I think maganda rin na malaki yung welcoming ng community sa amin, So yung Philippine Science and yung Davao City has a welcoming attitude dun sa aming gustong mangyari, So since Philippine Science yung nag-cater sa amin, we have to really hone the center to also consider the needs of the Philippine Science High School. And kami naman po ay rumirespeto dun sa mga gusto ng aming host na agency. Buti na lang DOST sister agency rin to at medyo malapit sa amin kung ano yung kailangan nila sa amin. Yun lang po.
Yes, thank you, Ishma. Naalala ko, I think I visited the first time Davao. Ginagawa pa lang po yung original station which was only 1 floor. Nung ginagawa pa siya, yun yung unang bisita ko dyan sa Davao. And then after that, Pero yan pong bagong bagong mas malaki at pinalakas na stasyon ay kailangan pa namin puntahan. Probably after this pandemic, we'll be able to do that. Ibang-iba na po ngayon ang kanyang facility. Masyadong maganda. Dapat po natin makita yan. Thank you, Ishma. Now, let's move on. From Philippine Star, wanted to ask the budget for establishment of a cluster center such as this one. How many are we looking to establish in the near future? Thank you po. Medyo na partly nasagot, pero yung budget, sir, hindi pa. Sir?
Okay, yung budget si Isma ang assignment.
Okay.
Kasi siya ang nagpapatakbo niyan. Pero ang plano talaga namin ay magkaroon ng Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. Sa Luzon, ito na yung main office. Sa Mindanao ay Davao City. Meron na tayong napiling site sa Visayas. Ito ay sa San Fernando, sa Cebu. Ongoing ang construction. We hope to finish it within 6 months. At mga instrumento ay ready na rin. So this will enable our operations be more efficient and might be faster in really making sure that data are analyzed as soon as possible. Isma, for the budget. Sa budget kasi, may budget sa construction and separate pa yung mga instrumentation. If it's just for the cluster. Pero maliban dyan, syempre yung mga data from different seismic stations all over will be different. Isma, please.
Yes, when we established yung Davao's cluster center, marami kaming tiningnan, no. So isa na nga yung na-mention is yung construction, but also we're also looking at yung ICT equipment na ilalagay sa loob, no. So in terms of budget, umaabot na siya ng below 20 million, no. Kasi po ay marami na po kaming inihahandang mga ICT equipment na ilalagay diyan sa Davao, as well as yung kung paano siya well connected doon sa iba pang lugar all over the Philippines. I think Secretary De La Peña also has plans to put yung mga other products of DOST in the centers. I think ganun din yung plano ni Secretary De La Peña na I think nabanggit sa amin dati once. So I think Secretary De La Peña can also explain kung ano yung ideas niya about it.
Sir, nakamute po kayo.
Iba-iba kasing mga campuses ay meron din silang kanya-kanyang initiative, no? Sila na rin mismo yung naghahanap no, ano ba yung pwedeng ilagay doon sa campus nila na magiging relevant para sa kanilang mga estudyante. So meron tayong mga campuses na nakipag-coordinate sa Department of Trade and Industry. Sila yung naging location sa kanilang mga Fab Lab. Yung Fab Labs na itinayo natin, ano, and we can imagine that there will be other types of operations among our agencies. Yung ating mga ano tawag dito, yung ating mga engineering, metals and engineering innovation centers na itinatayo natin, bagamat hindi naman sa Philippine Science High School yan, doon naman sa mga partner universities natin inilolocate, katulad din ng mga food innovation centers. Kaya anyway, we are working, ang ating strategy is whole of government approach, whole of nation approach, kaya mahalagang ma-maximize natin yung mga available resources at kamukha nito, yung mga criteria na sinabi ko kanina, yung maliit ang probability na magsabay na magkaroon ng hazardous events dun sa mirror at saka dun sa main, ay makikita natin dito, at saka yung presence ng fast connection natin for communication. And then, kainaman dyan, maraming constituents of Philippine Science High School na ika nga parating nandyan at pwedeng tingnan yung ating mirror facility. Kaya yun ang advantage.
Okay, thank you po, sir. Also would like to remind, if medyo nahirapan po kayo mag-type sa chat box, I think we still have time. Please raise your hand. Click nyo lang po yung raise your hand if you'd like to ask the question para
Mylene, if I may add, no, kasi as a center of information ng earthquake, kailangan din mag-connect siya with the LGU, no.
Yes.
Itong city government of Davao also has their own emergency operation center na nakita na namin yung nila. It's just a matter of time that we will make our centers interoperable. I think si Timo Obaloran can also explain kung ano na yung na-establish nila sa Davao at paano kami ko-connect with them.
Yes, sir. Would you like to add some more explanation sa sinabi ni Sir Ishman?
Yes, sir. Actually, the Operation Center, Disaster Operation Center of Davao City has already been long established and also equipped with monitoring apparatus. And we also have the different monitoring gadgets and also the cameras. And presently, we are also adding some other equipment, no? Just like we are now in the process of installing our river cameras and also in addition to the coastal cameras and early warning system, no? The sirens, and with the public address. And with regards to the monitoring equipment, we also have some
Sirens, yata.
data. Yes, sir. We have data that can also be ready for interoperability with the PHIVOLCS. So that's why yun po sana ang isang tanong ko kanina on how we are going to connect, no, our operation center with this newly established clusters, no, na PHIVOLCS itong monitoring cluster monitoring on earthquake and tsunami dito sa Davao. So yun po ang our that's what we are looking for, sir, no. Hopefully your office together with the operation center of Davao City, especially the CDRM operation center, will have our interoperability operations para to address, no, to para mas madali, no, so that we can address easily and immediately of yung sa mga whatever disasters, especially pertains to earthquake and tsunami that may occur. Thank
Tama,
you.
sir. Maganda po yung idea ninyo ni Ishma for interoperability. That will really help us lessen yung time involved pagdating po sa disseminating information.
Yeah, I think yung OCD rin, they also have emergency operation centers, no? So hindi lamang dito sa region ng Davao but also other regions in Mindanao. Kailangan po nating maayos na nagko-communicate, well coordinated po yung ating systems para maayos yung at mas facilitate yung ating response dun sa mga emergencies, no? Kaya nga one nation, one response ang ating motto for disasters. I think si Director Orense could also explain kung ano yung mga strategies nila kasi kumikilos naman kami as one council of agencies for disasters. Kaya po whatever is the decision of the regional council, we will comply.
Yeah, actually ang pinaka-importante naman talaga diyan is we have understanding, we have coordination, and most especially is communication, no, whether it is communication as a software or hardware, kasi katulad niyan medyo magkakalayo tayo ng location, sina Fred Baluran diyan sa Davao City, kami dito sa may airport. So in case of any emergency or disaster that could occur sa city proper, no, wag naman sana, pwedeng iba to rito kung if we have actually the necessary hardware na magagamit. In fact, bago tayo simula sa ating virtual presser, we were actually conducting some sort of a presentation of the SOP, no? SOP ng yung how to operate the what they call it, the operation centers from the region down to the local, no? Yan yung ano natin. I do not know kung na-i-approve na yan ng RDRRMC. So with that SOP, SOPG, no? Na kung I do not know, sabi ko nga kung naaprubahan na lang 'yan, that will help kasi i-set up na yung system on how one dream office could communicate with another office, could coordinate with the other office. So nakaano na lang yan nakaset na naman lahat yan eh. All we are going right now is institutionalizing yung ating effort dito sa disaster.
Asa naman yung tao, ani?
Thank you,
So
sir.
may ano yan, no? Merong may hierarchy, no? May hierarchy tayo. So yung since yung mga nasa baba, yung mga local and the provincial and the municipal, they are actually on the ground. Ang kwan natin sa kanila is a different rin. Hindi sila kasi katulad ng region, no? Kasi nga sabi ko nga hierarchical eh. But the system is being put into place and the SOPG defines how we're going to share information within or among the different hierarchy. So pag na-institutionalize na ito, wala namang magiging problema.
Okay, thank you, sir, for that reply. We have several questions related naman po, I think, masasagot ng PHIVOLCS as well as ng Philippine Science High School. Kay Director, ano po? Una, siya po ay taga Zamboanga, Sibugay Division. Ask ko lang po if welcome po ba kami for educational tour dyan sa PMCMCET. If ever matuloy, what are the requirements? I think Ishma can answer this. And syempre, sir, since nasa loob po tayo ng Philippine Science High School campus, gusto na rin na marinig kung welcome po ba ang pagpunta ng mga tours like that. Ishma and Director Fenecias. Sir, Director?
From our end, ma'am, of course, welcome yung ganyan. We look forward to having students from outside, from other high schools to go into the Philippine Science High School. Pero this time, medyo strict ang Philippine Science High School, lalo na yung health officer namin, talagang tinitingnan kung sino yung pumapasok. But when the pandemic, when the situation is favorable to us, we welcome visitors from other high schools.
Thank you, sir.
Private or public high schools.
Thank you, sir. And Ishma, kasi may karugtong yung tanong. Ano na yung requirements kung visit sa DR, sa ating center? And accommodation, yun ang hindi ko masasagot. And yun, thank you daw. So any comments, Ishma?
So far, wala po kaming accommodations na mabibigay. Although may mga facilities kami, dedicated po siya sa mga monitoring staff ng PHIVOLCS. So kung maaga po kayong magbibigay ng request from us, probably we can make accommodations available kung meron pong slot within the station, no? So kasi pinakita nga yung second floor, meron siyang mga rooms, pero currently po ay marami pong staff na nagsistay po dun sa station. So yun nga, we deferred dun sa health protocols of the city and also the Philippine Science kung ano po yung sasabihin nila, and we can kailangan lang po tayo mag-usap, no? So just send a letter to USEC Solidum for the request, and kami naman po we will adhere to the rules of the city and the Philippine Science High School in deciding what we will do.
Thank you. Sir, Secretary De La Peña, may dadagdag po kayo? Nakataas po ang inyong...
Hindi. Ako gusto ko nang magpasalamat sa ating mga kasama, kay Director Orense, kay Mr. Baloran, of course, sa ating Philippine Science High School. Ngayon lang kami nagkita ni Jonald. Welcome, Jonald, to the DOST family. Of course, sa ating PHIVOLCS, kay Ismael, at sa iyo, Maylene. And salamat Yusek Rene for asking me to join today. I just have to bid goodbye now because we have a closing ceremony for our celebration of Civil Service Month. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much. Pasalamatan po natin si Secretary de la Peña for giving time for us this afternoon. Kailan po medyo hectic ang schedule niya at kailangan niya tayong iwanan. Pero salamat po parati sa inyong suporta. Salamat po, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, let's proceed. Sir, Ishma, follow up muna bago ulit sa Philippine Science. There is one question that I saw. Will you accept students who would like to pursue a STEM track for training in your facility? Before we proceed, may isang tanong for Philippine Science again.
Siyempre, yung on-the-job trainees ng mga estudyante, kailangan po pag-usapan yan ng maayos kasi we might require some, how do you say this, orientation ng estudyante so that mag-meet tayo ng expectations. It's always that malinaw po sa amin kung what kind of training or skills enhancement para sa estudyante nyo para then ma-evaluate namin ng maayos yung performance ng estudyante. Hindi lamang yung skills na enhancement but also behavioral kasi isa pa yun sa mga importanteng tinitingnan namin when nagkakaroon po ng on-the-job training sa aming that they develop the correct ethics, work ethics kapag nagkakaroon po ng OJT. Thank you po.
Thank you, Ishma. Nakataas po ang kamay ni Director Orense. Sir, may dadagdag po kayo?
Yeah, gusto ko lang magdagdag ng linaw doon sa mga nagbabalak na bumisita dito sa inyong lugar and at the same time bumisita sa siyudad ng Davao. Ito alam ito ni Fred Baloran, ni Colonel Baloran. Actually, as much possible meron tayong pinatutupad dito na kumbaga parang border control sa mga borders ng Davao region na ang mga papasok ng Davao City should be able to present a negative RT-PCR test. Kasi yun ang napag-usapan namin dito to of course to prevent the proliferation of the virus itself, Medyo mahigpit. Even yung mga galing ng Maynila, yung mga yung mga papasok sa airport, they are actually required to present to us, to present to the airport yung mga RT-PCR test na negative, which is actually good for yung 72 hours before arrival. So, yun ang natin. So, for the guys or for the people who would like to come to Davao City, medyo i-consider natin 'yan, Consider natin 'yan.
Yes,
Yun
sir.
lang.
Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. I think for now, syempre we have to follow the protocols and I think most of these educators suspended naman po right now, even sa PHIVOLCS. And most of these questions will probably if it's already open and then lahat po ng facilities naman po natin ay magiging open po sa lahat pag natapos na po itong pandemic na ito. Thank you very much for the reminder, sir. Okay. Sir, yung para sa Philippine Science, for Philippine Science, how do we encourage our students to seek the path on earthquake science or seismology since we only have few seismologists in the country?
Okay, thank you for that question. Ito yung kagandahan nga ng center andyan sa Philippine Science High School. Hindi na mahirap magpunta at mag-aral kung anong ginagawa ng being employed or as a scientist studying earthquakes. Ngayon, makikita talaga nila kung ano yung mga gadgets, kung sino yung paano ina-analyze yung data. Maybe from that point of view, parang nakikita ko na maraming maingganyo ngayon na magkukuha ng mga courses along that field. Kasi andyan na andun na sa namin, andyan na sa harap namin. All we have to do is to communicate with the PHIVOLCS and then arrange maybe orientation para mapapunta namin yung estudyante diyan sa center.
Okay, salamat po, sir. I hope nasagot yung tanong tungkol sa developing more scientists and seismologists, sana ma-encourage. Lahat naman po ng areas ng science, importante. One more question. We only have several minutes left. Okay, this one is for PHIVOLCS. Since this is a backup site for your monitoring facility in Quezon City, how will you disseminate or communicate to the stakeholders nationwide the earthquake and tsunami information that you will be generating? Do you have a link to the various operation centers in Luzon and Visayas? Sino po ang sasagot? Yusek or Ishma?
Well, essentially, the main office in Quezon City will be the main source. Pag nagkaroon ng problema sa Quezon City, then there will be a turnover of the operations to the most appropriate center. No? So yun po, isa lang naman po ang source ng info pa rin. It's the same website, but the provider of the information would be the other center. Hindi nyo rin mapapansin yun dapat kung sinong nagbibigay ng info.
Yeah.
Yun nga yung binabanggit ni Director Orense kanina na hindi lamang hard technology yung kailangan. There is also soft technology, yung development ng mga standard operating procedures. Ito po ay mga written procedures na kailangan by the book siyang susundin. And it all depends on how creative you are in looking at scenarios na pwedeng mangyari. So doon po tayo magsusulat nung kung ano po yung gagawin, sino ang gagawa, sino yung mga backup na tao na gagawa kung sakaling mawala itong ano. And with that, maaayos po yung handshake ng mga centers who will take over and who will para yung binabanggit nga ni Yusek Solidum, seamless po yung handshake ng mga centers when they are taking over the operations.
Okay, thank you, Ishma. I think we answered all of the questions posted sa chat box, and it's been a very, very fruitful afternoon. Unless meron pong gusto mag-raise ng hand. Ay, si Sir ang nag-raise. Akala ko from our friends from the media.
Siguro lang, para matulungan despite the current pandemic, it would be good for us sa PHIVOLCS and even sa Philippine Science. If we have such facilities that people are interested in, that we develop a virtual tour so that they can do it virtually. No? At kung may mga tanong, then somebody can actually answer it. Siguro we can develop this kind of facility, the virtual facility, for people to view what we do and ask questions. So that yung learning opportunity for people that we have been offering for educational tours na madalas pong bisitahin ng mga taga-PHIVOLCS talaga would be there. Second, yung mga on-the-job opportunities, mahirap lang gawin, but we have offered in a few cases with specific programs, as Mr. Narag mentioned, kung talaga may usapan ko anong pwedeng gawin ng estudyante, virtual on the job also. No? So we can actually do some things, but not for many people. Sige. Thank you.
Okay, I think we're almost done. Before we finally end, may I request a final message from all our panelists this afternoon before I turn over the session back to our MCs. Let me begin again with, of course, Sir Mr. Baloran.
Yes, ma'am. Once again, nagpapasalamat po kami in behalf of our mayor, the city government of Davao. We extend our grateful and thankful to the PHIVOLCS, especially to Secretary Solidum, to the DOST Secretary, umalis na siya. Then to Sir Isma, no, who came here to Davao City, and to Sir RD Orense, and to Sir Donald. Thank you for this afternoon, the time that you have shared with us. No? For this time, sir, is I'd like to take this opportunity to ask permission from Sir Yusek Solidum sir, to mag-permission ako, sir, that yung naudlot natin na activity dito sa Davao City, yung ating walk the fault. Hopefully, sir, na after this pandemic, ituloy natin, sir, no? Kasi we already...
Hindi
Yes,
pa
sir,
lahat
we
ng
already-
fault na daanan natin. Kunti pa lang.
Yes, sir, kukunti pa lang. And we already have, for your information, sir, is we already have yung mga signages na na i-install natin.
Sige, sir.
The city has already provided the signages.
Sige, sir.
And yes, sir. And Sir Isma, no? Sorry sa mga sir, sa disturbance nyo pagdating sa airport. Kasi I'd like also to affirm the statement ni Sir Ardi, no? Na medyo stricto talaga kami dito sa Davao ngayon, sir. We are still in the GCQ with heightened restrictions. So medyo higpit pa yung mga border natin, no? Yung mga nagpaplano na pumunta rito sa Davao, you will be checked and hanapan kayo ng 72 hours RT-PCR result doon sa mga borders namin, and especially also before check-in, kung by airline kayo, one of the requirements na bago kayo makasakay is the result ng RT-PCR. So medyo na-disturb yung biyahe ninyo, sir, no? Hopefully na by next time na mabalik kayo dito sa Davao medyo gumanda yun ang panahon na hopefully na this pandemic will mawala na, no, for the next few months, no. So that's all, ma'am, for Davao City, and on behalf of my mayor. Again, thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much po again, sir. Now, we have final words from Director Orense ng OCD Region 11, and thank you for coming. Alam ko po may isang meeting pa kayo kanina.
Sige lang. Actually, this is more important because kumbaga parang commitment ito eh. Anyway, in behalf of my boss, no, the civil my CDA, no, the civil administrator, no, si Yusek Richalad, no. Actually, he was the one who tasked me to attend this because I think he was the one being invited. So as a good soldier, we have to abide by what our boss desires. So sabi ko nga, lumipat na lang ako rito. Anyway, patapos na naman siya. So again, maraming salamat sa ating lahat o sa inyong lahat for giving me the opportunity to appear in this activity, appear in this virtual presser side by side with the distinguished gentlemen and ladies of the DOST and PHIVOLCS. Actually, si Yusek Solidum, lagi ko lang siya nakikita sa sa media, no, sa mga TV coverages. Pero actually, I admire him. Once lang kaming nagkita pero hindi na niya matatandaan yun because that was way back, no. Anyway, Sir Rene, your project, the project of the DOST dito sa project and of PHIVOLCS dito sa Mindanao, napakalaking bagay ito para sa atin. As I've stated a while ago, malaking bagay ito because we know for a fact that yung ng disaster dito sa Davao, madalas din kami rito, like yung earthquake ng 2019, mga landslides, no, mga other man-made disasters like yung mga sunog, yung mga disgrasya sa kalye, and so on and so forth. Kaya lang, I don't think that will be included dun sa magiging coverage ng ating center. But nonetheless, sana magkaroon din ako ng pagkakataon na madalaw yung area na yan. Ang tagal ko rito sa Davao, ang problema lang is hindi pa ako nakakapunta sa Philippine Science High School. Ewan ko kung bakit. Siguro because I'm a bit busy and occupied by my work as a regional director ng OCD. But later on, I know that I will be able to go to that area considering the fact na yan ang gagawin na no na Philippine na regional government area, no? So kumbaga parang diyan din kami lilipat later on kung kailan na hindi lang namin alam. So thank you sa ating sa inyong lahat. Again, as I've said, for giving me the opportunity to sit with you side by side and to ventilate my ideas pertaining to disaster and other matters affecting the region. Thank you very much.
Salamat po, Director Orense. Thank you.
Happy weekend pala.
Opo, thank you rin po. And of course, ang ating sister school, Philippine Science High School sa Davao, Sir, Director Finesha.
Maraming salamat. The Philippine Science High School Southern Mindanao Campus is actually very happy to have the center inside our campus. In fact, we can actually make this one for our SIP, yung Science Immersion Program namin. That's one of our parang subject yan na kailangang makuha ng mga bata. So because the center is inside the campus, so hindi na kami medyo mahirapan pang maghanap ng mga agencies to land into. And every opportunity also of people coming into the Philippine Science High School because of the center, we will view that one also as our opportunity to promote the Philippine Science High School, particularly the Southern Mindanao Campus. So in its entirety, we are very glad and thank you very much for choosing Philippine Science for that particular project. Thank you very much.
Thank you po again, sir. And Ishma?
Yung binanggit kanina ni Chief Baloran tungkol doon sa naperwisyo kami. Actually, baliktad kami yung namemerwisyo sa inyo para ma-implement yung mga nagpapasalamat kami that you were able to accommodate us, no. So wala namang problema po sa amin, mga mga cowboy kami dito, kaya naming puntahan yung mga lugar na actually parang feeling nga namin yung mga tao naghahanap kami ng sakit. Pero actually gusto lang namin talagang matapos na yung mga programa namin at mapakita na nag-i-improve yung ating sistema dito sa Pilipinas, no. If ever we are inconvenient, sabi nga nung kaibigan ko dyan sa Bisaya, ang sabi niya, ewan ko kung tama to, ayaw patagang, balik-balik lang. So kung ganun yung yung welcoming attitude ng Davao, we will always go back. Yun lang po. Thank you.
Thank you, Ishma. And of course, Yusek Solidum.
Well, ako yung magpapasalamat na lang, no? Sa mga dumalo sa media at sa mga interesadong makinig. And of course, dito sa mga panelists. Ang isang experience ko, since I was with PHIVOLCS for a long time and when I became the director, isa sa mga rehiyon na parati kong pinupuntahan ay Davao Region and Davao City. And now especially so, I'm also the supervising undersecretary of the Philippine Science High School. Kaya ako'y natutuwa na pag pumunta ako sa Davao City, PHIVOLCS, kasama na yung Philippine Science sa bibisitahin ko. And I think the last time I was there was after the earthquake event, no, in 2019, and I also saw some of the things that are being done aside from visiting PHIVOLCS. So I'm very happy po sa very open, warm-hearted collaboration. The city government, the Office of Civil Defense, and the Philippine Science High School are really offering DOST-PHIVOLCS. Kasi ang kahandaan po sa sakuna ay hindi pwedeng bawat isa lang sa atin ang kikilos. It's a collaboration and we build on each other's efforts and expertise to make sure that we really provide the right service to our people so that they are safe and resilient to the various hazards that may visit Davao's region and of course Mindanao. So maraming pong salamat sa inyo lahat.
Salamat po sa lahat ng panelists. Before I turn this finally over to Missy and Mayan, we would like to acknowledge po lahat po nang nag-attend from the staff of LGUs ng Davao City, mga LDRMO, tsaka sa PDRM office po. Meron po tayong mga staff from DOST Central and Region 11. Maraming salamat po sa inyo. our colleagues from DOST, STII, of course, and of course po ang aming parating kasama from OCD Central as well as Region 11. Sabi nga ni Sir Director Orense, there will come a time in a few more months or maybe next year, we'll have the opportunity to against each other face-to-face. Asahan po natin yan. And of course, from DOST Philippine Science High School, lahat po na nagpunta dito at nakidalo sa amin. And from DepEd, marami pong participants from DepEd. And the members of the media, we also have representative from PCOO and PIA. I think they are here. And some members of the media. Hindi ko na po may isa-isa. Maraming salamat po for this very fruitful afternoon. And go na po ang ating center sa Davao. We look forward to seeing all of you in the future. Thank you very much. Missy and Mian.
Okay, so thank you, Ms. Mylene, for moderating the Info Central this afternoon, and to our panelists for answering all the questions. So we are happy po na madami po ang gustong bumisita at makita po ang ating cluster center dito sa Davao City. So we are hoping na sana matapos na po yung pandemic so we can go here and see the beauty of our facility, the cluster center here in Mindanao. So before we end this afternoon's program, may we call on the Deputy Director of DOST-PHIVOLCS, Dr. Teresito C. Bacolcol.
Okay, thank you. Maayong hapon sa inyong tanan, magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Sa mga nag-attend karon sa inauguration sa PHIVOLCS Mindanao Cluster Monitoring Center for Earthquake and Tsunami, kayong salamat. Nalipay ko dako nga ang dugay na nga giplano nga paghimo sa PHIVOLCS Mindanao Cluster Monitoring Center na tuman lagyod. Dako ang matabang niini sa mga lumulupyo dili lamang sa Mindanao pero sa tibok Pilipinas. Kay kung naay mahitabo nga katalagman sa Luzon ug ma-paralyze ang PHIVOLCS Main Office ug ang Tagaytay Station, ibalhin ang PHIVOLCS National Operation diri sa Mindanao. Today's activity is the culmination of several years of planning, and with the inauguration of PHIVOLCS Mindanao Cluster, the Davao Seismic Station has come full circle. Originally established in 1992 as Davao City Seismic Station during the time of the then Mayor Rodrigo Duterte, who is now our president, the establishment of PHIVOLCS Mindanao Center is now realized during the administration of his daughter, Mayor Inday Sara Duterte. And the inauguration of PHIVOLCS Mindanao Cluster is a proof of PHIVOLCS' faithfulness to carry out its mandate of ensuring an earthquake-resilient Philippines, even during these challenging times, and to ensure that a public service is not hampered in case a natural disaster disrupts the operation of PHIVOLCS Main Office. And to everyone else attending this inauguration, your presence right now is also a proof that of how supportive you are and how much you value the work of PHIVOLCS in making our communities safe and resilient from geological hazards and other natural calamities. Again, dahang salamat sa inyong tanan. Ug maayong hapon and enjoy your weekend.
Thank you very much, Deputy. Of course, we also have to thank our participants, members of the press, our participants from the national regional government agencies, our LGUs from the participants, and of course, the members of the academe. Before we end, I would like to remind everyone to kindly fill out the evaluation form para po ma-assess namin kung paano pa namin mapapabuti ang paggagawa ng aming trabaho tulad na lang po ng press conference na ito. Pagka-submit po na inyo pong evaluation form, makikita nyo po ang link para makuha ang mga information materials na makakatulong po sa inyo para madagdagan ang ating kaalaman tungkol sa lindol at paano ito paghahandaan. I would also like to encourage our participants to please turn on your camera for our photo opportunity. So I may request everyone po to turn on your camera. We have 150 participants right now, kaya po 4 slides po yung ating pong gagawin pong picture taking, so it may take a while. Pero this is po our remembrance of this inauguration. So I may request Miss Daini Doloiras to take the photo. Miss Daini, bigay po kayo ng signal sa amin kung ready na po. Okay, nag-thumbs up na po si Miss Daini. Smile po tayo.
Mr. Gigayon, how are you? Nice to see you.
Okay po, Miss Daini. Smile in 3, 2, 1. Okay po, next slide naman po. Ready na po? 3, 2, 1, smile! Last 2 slides. So keep that smile on po dahil hindi po natin alam kung pang-aling slide po tayo papasok. Ready na po? 3, 2, 1, smile! And last slide po. 3, 2, 1. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Reminder lang po yung ating pong evaluation form. Yung link po ay provided po sa ating secretariat. I would like to call my partner, Miss Mean.
Yes, Miss Sigra. We would like to thank our distinguished guest, Secretary de la Peña, Yusek Solidum, Deputy Director Bacolcol, our guest panelists from Office of the City Mayor, Director Financials of Philippine Science, Dr. Orense of OCD 11, national government agencies, regional offices, LGU, NGO, and other academe, as well as our media guests for participating this afternoon. So that's the end of our program, Missy. So daghang salamat. Amping kitang tanan sa ating pong lahat.